It was 2:07 a.m. The apartment hummed with silence, broken only by the occasional creak of old pipes. Jake sat slouched on the edge of the couch, phone in hand, screen dim, no missed calls, no messages. Across the room, 2 wine glasses stood abandoned on the kitchen counter, their last use of fading memory from better nights. His thumb hovered over her contact again. Call? Pointless. Blocked. He'd tried. Too many times. He stared at the screen like it might change, like she might suddenly break the silence. But she didn't. And somewhere between the last ring she answered and the 14 days since, Jake had stopped asking what he did wrong and started asking who she really was. Monday began with concern. Jake sent a casual "everything okay?" text before work. No reply. He called that night, straight to voicemail. By Tuesday, worry crept in. 3 texts, 2 calls, 1 email. Still nothing. Wednesday, desperation took hold. He tried her office line. The receptionist said Emily was in meetings. All day, he called her sister, who sounded awkward. "She's figuring stuff out," she mumbled, then hung up. By Thursday, Jake hadn't eaten a full meal in days. His eyes burned from lack of sleep. His boss warned him about coming in late. He even attempted the absurd, sending a fax to her work with only the words, "Please talk to me." No answer. Friday night. He sat in the dark, watching his phone screen after yet another failed call. This time, it didn't go to voicemail. It didn't go anywhere. A cold notification blinked up. Message undeliverable. Number has been blocked. Jake stared at it like it had slapped him. Not lost, not sick, not overwhelmed. She had chosen this, and she wanted him gone. By Saturday, Jake's worry had mutated into obsession. He combed through Emily's Instagram. No new posts, but a suspicious like on a photo of some wellness retreat. He scrolled through her tag pictures, looking for shadows of men in the background. Nothing. Still, something felt off. He rifled through the apartment like a detective in a crime drama. A dry cleaning slip in her coat pocket, dated 2 weeks ago. Who picks up clothes they never wear at home? A forgotten Uber receipt on the counter. Drop off at a medical clinic downtown. Is she sick? Is she hiding something? The more he found, the less he understood. Her phone bill showed regular calls to a number he didn't recognize. He Googled it obsessively. Salon? Friend? Therapist? Secret boyfriend? The theories twisted in his head, each one darker than the last. None of it made sense. Yet Jake couldn't stop. Facts were few, but his mind filled in the blanks. He wasn't just searching for her anymore. He was trying to rewrite the story, to make the silence mean something he could survive. A month earlier, they sat at their usual cafe. Sunlight catching in her hair, steam rising between mismatched mugs. Emily had stirred her coffee slowly and said, almost to herself, "When I get overwhelmed, I just shut down. It's like my brain turns the volume off." Jake had nodded, thinking he understood. That same day, they'd argued, something small about sharing passwords. He wanted full openness. She said boundaries didn't mean secrecy. Now, in the present, that moment echoed like a warning. She told you who she was. This wasn't new. The silence wasn't random. But still 2 weeks? No word? No explanation? Jake stood at the crossroads of compassion and confrontation, uncertain which version of love he owed her. Their 2-year anniversary dinner had all the right details. Dim lighting, a rooftop view, a bottle of Malbec breathing between them. A waiter lit the tiny candle on their table, and Jake reached across, smiling. "To us," he said. Emily clinked glasses but hesitated before sipping. He'd been talking about a promotion at work, how it might finally allow him to plan for the next big step. Buying a house, maybe even starting a family. "Kids," he said casually, watching her face for a reaction. She didn't smile. Her shoulders stiffened, her eyes flicking away just long enough for him to notice. "I'm just not sure that's on my timeline yet," she said gently, brushing hair behind her ear. Jake laughed it off then, but the discomfort lingered like smoke. She changed the subject to travel plans and grad school applications. They finished dessert, took a selfie, and smiled through it all. But in retrospect, Jake could see the hairline fractures. Not dramatic enough to shatter anything. Not yet, but they'd started forming that night. Thin, quiet, and deep. By Sunday evening, Jake remembered something. Emily had mentioned a 3-day conference out of town. Maybe that's it, he thought. Maybe it's just work. He searched the event's name in her planner, then found the hotel hosting it. A flicker of hope lit inside him. He called the front desk. "Yes," the clerk said politely. "Emily Carter is checked in." Relief hit him like a wave, until it crashed just as fast. "Can you connect me to her room?" "I'm sorry, sir. Miss Carter has requested not to receive calls." Jake stood in stunned silence. Phone pressed his ear, heartbeat thudding. Not only had she blocked his number, she'd made sure he couldn't reach her any other way. So she wasn't missing. She wasn't sick. She hadn't lost her phone or gotten overwhelmed. She had chosen silence. Strategically, intentionally, Jake ended the call slowly, staring out the window. The city looked different now. Colder, like it was keeping secrets too. Emily was alive, yes, but more unreachable than ever. And somehow, that hurt worse than not knowing at all. On Monday morning, Jake couldn't take the silence anymore. Logic told him to wait, give her space. But his gut screamed louder. He called in sick, packed an overnight bag, and drove 5 hours to the conference city. Every mile buzzed with hope and dread, the kind that sits heavy in your chest and won't let you breathe right. By late afternoon, he was parked across from the hotel, watching people filter in and out. He waited, unsure of what he was even hoping to see. An explanation? A breakdown? A confession? Just before dusk, she appeared. Emily stood in the hotel lobby bar, dressed in sharp navy business wear, her hair pulled back in a clean twist. She laughed at something a colleague said, casually lifting her phone and checking the screen. Jake froze. She looked radiant, relaxed, alive in a world he was no longer part of. He watched her for a long moment, stunned. She could speak, just not to him. That realization was colder than the stone bench beneath him. He turned before she saw him. No confrontation, no scene, just a quiet, sharp decision settling in his bones. If she could erase him from her now, he would begin erasing her from his future. The drive back felt twice as long. Rain streaked the windshield as Jake gripped the wheel, thoughts unraveling faster than the highway lines beneath him. His mind played cruel games, spinning theories that twisted his gut. What if she's having an affair? That co-worker at the bar, was he more than a friend? The next moment, a darker thought. What if she's sick, terminal, and doesn't want to watch her fade? He pictured hospital beds, whispered goodbyes, and the hollow ache of being shut out from goodbye. Then came the cruelest theory. What if this is all a test? Some twisted way to measure how far I'll go to prove I care? With each possibility, a different version of himself emerged, furious, devastated, desperate. He mentally rehearsed the confrontations he'd never have. Storming into a hotel, slamming down proof, demanding answers. But none of those scenes played out. The truth remained locked in her silence. By the time he pulled into the driveway, he wasn't even sure what hurt more, the not knowing or the fact that part of him still wanted to forgive her. Saturday afternoon, Jake was half asleep on the couch when his phone buzzed. A message from Lila, a mutual friend. "Thought you won't see this." She probably didn't mean to make it public. Attached was a screen-recorded Instagram story, posted by Emily. In the short clip, Emily sat cross-legged in a circle of strangers, sunlight streaming through a high-windowed loft. A whiteboard behind her read, "Radical Self-Freedom, Week 2, Reclaiming Boundaries." She looked peaceful, present, not heartbroken, not confused, just gone. The caption was short, handwritten over the video in her familiar loopy script. "I'm learning to reclaim space." No guilt, no apology. Jake stared at the screen, unmoving. This wasn't a mental health spiral. This wasn't miscommunication or a test or a cry for help. This was deliberate. She had unplugged from their life, his life, with intention, not out of pain, but for power. A slow, cold clarity settled over him like fog. The silence wasn't a pause. It was a boundary, a wall, and she'd built it without even looking back. He closed the app and set the phone down gently like it might break. She didn't want space from noise. She wanted space from him. And she'd taken it. Jake stood in the kitchen, phone in one hand, Emily's story still glowing on the screen. A numb calm settled over him, austere and precise. He pictured a future where every disagreement became a vanishing act, where he tiptoed around unseen tripwires, praying she wouldn't disappear again. Birthdays, holidays, even mundane Tuesday nights, all held hostage by the threat of silence. A marriage reduced to hostage negotiations. He opened their shared digital calendar and watched the swirl of color-coded events, date nights, dentist appointments, bill reminders. With one swipe, he unsubscribed, and the screen went blank. Next came the apps, joint grocery account, streaming services, travel points. Cancel, cancel, cancel. Each confirmation email felt like a ragged breath of cleaner air. Finally, he opened a new message window, addressed to Emily's work email, one she hadn't blocked. He typed a single sentence. When you're ready to talk, speak to my lawyer. He attached the contact card for a family law attorney he'd researched the night before, then hit send. No flourish, no second draft. The moment the message left his outbox, the apartment's silence changed shape. It was no longer a void he begged her to fill. It was breathing room, his own. Jake set the phone face down, exhaled, and felt the first steady pulse of freedom. On Monday morning, Jake sat across from a calm-eyed divorce attorney in a glass-walled office downtown. The air smelled like fresh coffee and finality. He explained the situation, Emily's silence, the block calls, the emotional disappearing act. The lawyer listened carefully, nodding. You don't need a signed letter to begin separation, she said. We start with an asset inventory, outline temporary living arrangements, and propose either mediation or a formal filing. Jake felt the words settle like bricks. This was real, tangible. They reviewed accounts, joint savings, one car, the lease with 6 months left. He would remain in the apartment. She would be offered a formal notice of separation with a 30-day response window. He added one more stipulation. If Emily wants to reconcile, it must begin with therapy and written boundaries. No more emotional purgatory. That afternoon, the letter went out, legally sound, emotionally sharp. Jake didn't want revenge. He wanted clarity, dignity, peace. He had loved her deeply, but love without respect had worn him down to embers. Now, she would have to choose, rebuild on equal ground, or watch it all legally unravel. Day 14. Emily stood barefoot in her apartment, scrolling through her phone. The silence she had clung to now felt heavier, more echo than space. Her screen showed a line of missed calls, none recent. No texts, no emails, just void. A knock broke the quiet. She opened the door to find a courier holding a cream-colored envelope. Emily Carter? She nodded. Please sign. Confused, she did. The courier was gone before she could ask a question. She closed the door, tore the seal, and slid out the documents. Notice of intent to file for divorce. Attached. Mediation options, temporary asset division. A statement from Jake's attorney. Her breath hitched. For the first time in 2 weeks, the control she had felt, her radical freedom, her clean boundaries, crumbled. She grabbed her friend's phone off the table and dialed Jake's number. It rang once. Then voicemail. You've reached Jake. Leave a message. Jake, please don't do this yet. Can we talk? Please? I didn't think you'd. Her voice cracked. Just call me. Please. She hung up, staring at the wall. What felt like power now tasted like loss. The silence she had once weaponized was ricocheting back. And this time, Jake wasn't waiting on the other side. Tuesday evening painted 2 quiet worlds unraveling in parallel. Emily paced her apartment, floors scattered with half-packed suitcases and cardboard boxes. She moved on autopilot, sweaters folded, picture frames wrapped in bubble wrap, a travel mug still stained with coffee from their last shared road trip. Her phone sat untouched on the kitchen counter, silent as ever. No reply from Jake, just the echo of her own heartbeat. Across town, Jake stood over the stove, sautéing vegetables for one. No candles, No whine, no banter about whose turret was to choose the playlist. He scrolled past our songs on Spotify, those carefully curated memories, and settled on instrumental jazz, something that didn't speak, something that didn't remind. Neighbors watched curiously as movers loaded Emily's things into a rented van. One leaned against her mailbox and whispered to another, "Didn't see that one coming." In the group chat of mutual friends, messages buzzed. Did they break up? I thought they were solid. He looks done. And just like that, the shared identity of Jake and Emily began to fade, spoken about in past tense, dissolved into gossip and packed away in silence. 3 months later, the world had stopped spinning. Jake sat on a weathered bench beside a quiet lake, golden leaves drifting across the surface like unspoken words. In his lap rested the final divorce decree, freshly signed. No anger, no regret, just closure, a line drawn in calm ink. He reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a small silver compass pendant. Not flashy, just simple and true. He fastened it around his neck, the metal warm from his hand. "Never lose direction again," he whispered, more promise than prayer. Across town, Emily stepped into the soft light of a therapist's office for the 4th week in a row. She no longer arrived offensive, just tired, honest. Her phone, once walled off by blocks and silence, now sat open in her purse. Jake's number was no longer restricted, but she hadn't dared dial it. Some doors, once shut, stay closed. Outside, she walked slowly through a tree-lined street, the wind shifting toward fall. So did Jake, thousands of steps away, following a different path through rust-colored woods. No glances back, no cinematic reunion, just two people, finally moving forward. Separately, quietly, and with clearer skies ahead. If you'd told me a year ago that silence could be louder than shouting, I would have laughed. But now I know better. There's a point in love where compromise becomes surrender, where understanding someone's pain turns into excusing your own. I used to think love meant holding on no matter what, but I've learned that real love, healthy love, has borders. And when those lines get crossed or blurred too many times, something inside quietly begins to retreat. Emily went to a workshop to learn radical self-freedom. I get that now. But what no one told me is that freedom for one person, when wielded without care, can feel like abandonment to the other. Her silence was her way of reclaiming space. But in the process, I had to learn to reclaim myself. I'm not angry anymore, just wiser. Agency isn't just about choosing who you want to be with. It's also about walking away when you're not being chosen back. Not with words, but with action. I still believe in love, but not the kind that demands I disappear to prove it. I wear the compass now as a reminder, not of her or pain, but a direction, and that mine still points forward.